This is Cloak, and you're watching Heavy New York.
Heavy, 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 heavy New York!
What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the St. Vitus basement, and we got round two with Cloak. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, feels like I just spoke with you guys like about 2.5, 3 months ago.
Yeah, and I guess a lot has happened since then. We had The Burning Dawn come out last Friday, October 25th, so we hit the ground running and toured on the same day that it came out, so it's been really rewarding so far.
Yeah. What I wanted to actually ask, because the last time we did speak, it was like you guys were kind of doing the wrap-up to Venomous Steps, and now you have A Burning Dawn coming out. What I'm curious is, do you consider this just like a direct follow-up, a continuation of Two Venomous Steps, or do you think that this record's like a new start for Cloak in a way?
I think every album should be sort of a follow-up to the last one, but in a way it's a new start in some direction. It takes the aggressive thing that we did more to the extreme, and it takes the softer parts more to the extreme, so it has a bit of a range of emotions going on. It's got our most angry and aggressive parts, like I said, but it also has some very sad and poignant parts, so I think I would say it is a continuation of Venomous, but it takes it in a more extreme direction.
Awesome. One thing I was curious about is you mentioned like you try to go as raw with the emotion as possible and up into the extreme. Is this motion like representative of what you felt at the time when writing that song, or did you like have to kind of put yourself in that? Like, was it just let's make an angry song, let's make a more melancholy song?
I think there's a goal as a whole when we do a record, and we want to do sort of something that the whole record has to represent something. So I think we have to get into that mindset before we even start, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I think it's not necessarily about trying to be more aggressive necessarily or whatever, but like I think it's about just taking each record as its own thing and like basically just trying to craft something that you are proud of in that moment, like basically do something that you can say, this is us right now, and this is the fucking coolest thing that we can do right now, let's put it out, like, and then hopefully building that along the way.
One thing that I was a little curious about is when it comes to the inspiration for writing, does inspiration sometimes just come out of nowhere, or do you have to put yourself in like a sort of certain mode or situation in order for songwriting mode to occur?
To me, I think music is magic. I've said that before, and I think you could be sitting there at any point in the day and you'll have a guitar in your hand and something will hit, and it could be the greatest song you've ever written, and you'll be sitting on your couch in the living room, and then that song will be on a record a year later. So I think, yeah, for us as a band, it inspiration comes from something else, and it can strike at any time. That's always been kind of how I looked at it.
Last time I saw you guys, you were touring with Chemists, which, I think is fair to say a very doom-oriented band, but now you're on with 1349 and Iwata, straight up black metal. Have you noticed like a different type of a crowd reaction or different type of audience on this tour as opposed to the last one?
Yeah, yes and no, but like I think I'm going to say like that. I think that's one of the coolest things about this band is that we can tour with bands that are so far in other directions like that. Like Chemist is obviously nowhere near what 1349 does, but for some reason Cloak is able to tour with both of them, and I think like that's something that we do really well, is strike a balance between those two worlds.
It's true, and it's weird that we can do that, but it somehow works. Like, we got just as good reception on the Chemist tour as we did these shows with 1349 Iwata, but you kind of have to go about it in two different ways too. I mean, the Chemist fans are a lot different than 1349 fans, and we've already toured with Iwata before, so it's we love that combination of those two, of us and them as well. So it's just it's different, but it's weird how it can work.
Yeah, definitely. You guys got to go like completely off the rails now, like do a tour with like the most like mainstream like rock band.
Oh, I'm shooting for Five Finger Death Punch for sure. So if you guys are out there, we want to tour with you.
Hey, you never know, it might work. I've seen stranger things happen.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Now, last time on that Chemist tour, that was actually my first time ever seeing Cloak live, and I thought, seeing you live and your crowd interaction and the way you execute your material is a very different experience than just simply listening to the album. Is there a similar energy that you channel into your live performance as you do when you're in songwriting mode or in the studio, or is it like a separate mind frame altogether?
To me, it's just has to be an extension of ourselves on stage, just bringing that sort of live atmosphere to it. It's a lot different than songwriting. Songwriting is more contemplative and more intuitive, and on stage it's just complete chaos and just putting on the most wild and insane shows you can. So it's a lot different, I would say.
Is there maybe like a similar fulfillment you would get out of it, or is there anything that ties it together, or is it?
I think there is a fulfillment that comes out of both, and it is very similar. Just from an artistic perspective, it's all part of what we do as a band. So it's all part of the whole is what we do with our art. Like part of being in a band is making records and touring. So like you're, playing live is part of it just as much as making a record is part of it. But like I think they are very, very different things, but it's all part of the same project, the same goal. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I think there's fulfillment that comes out of both, but they're different but the same. I don't know. That's a non-answer, I know, but that's as best as I can explain it.
It makes sense though, because when we're writing a song, I think we're already thinking, how is this going to come across live? Or when we're recording a song, are we gonna be able to pull that off live? We're a live band. We always wanted to be, and we always have been. So why would we write a song that we couldn't play live, or it's got all these different parts on the record that we've added on that we couldn't do live? We want to keep it as organic as we can. So like you said, it's sort of a package deal.
Maybe that's why you tie so long with the black metal audience as well, because their music is very raw and organic, and I think you guys have, well, it's not full on. You got, I wouldn't necessarily like compare you guys to like Emperor, but like I think you have that similar rawness, and I think that sort of trueness that black metal would have.
Yeah, I think all of us personally have just always been like that as musicians. We don't want to add so much to where it wouldn't be organic anymore, or like I said, we couldn't do on a stage with 4 people.
Another question I was really curious is actually, this kind of is a continuation of that last question I asked, but work always does come out of work is what I've learned. So like I'd imagine that maybe playing live and maybe interacting with an audience, and you seeing like different cities and different atmospheres, that could also inspire your creativity in a way, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That
happens to me all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, seeing how that energy bounces off the audience back to you is very inspiring. But at the same time, like, we wouldn't change the way we write because somebody wanted us to do so, or someone said, I'd like to see more of this or more of that. Like, it's not like that. It's more of a sharing of energy and emotions during the live atmosphere.
Yeah, I think it's more just like personally what we go through on the road is obviously going to inform what we end up writing, because it's part of our lives and it's a huge part of our lives. So obviously that's going to filter into what we end up doing in the future, So yeah, I'd say it's definitely connected. We're always going to do what we want to do, though,
For sure, and it also makes us a tighter live band and a tighter band in the studio, because the more you play together, the tighter you're going to be. So there's that aspect of it too.
Do you try to maybe engage the listener into sort of seeing things from your point of view, or is the music like more open to interpretation?
I'd say it's a bit of both. I think it's such a personal thing for us that it would almost be impossible for someone who's not involved to feel exactly what we want them to feel out of the songs. But at the same time, if they totally don't understand it, then that can be a bit frustrating too. So it's open to interpretation to an extent. What does this song or what does this record make you feel type of thing. So it's a bit of both, like I said.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is, we definitely touched upon it last time, but one thing that really, I didn't know about this until after you mentioned it in the interview, that I know that you guys are very active in creating your own music videos as well. And, is this like a similar like creative energy, and like does the vision for how you want this video to look and sound like come from making music?
Yeah, I'd say we listen to the songs and we say, like, what does the song make you feel? What colors do you see when you hear the song? But making videos is a totally different beast than writing. So it's cool to get to do all that because we're just, the four of us are very involved in every aspect of the band. You know, putting together a video is just totally different than writing a record, and putting together a shirt design or doing the record layout is totally different than doing a video. You know, it's a whole different range of stuff that we get to experience as a band, and I think that's very powerful.
Yeah. I feel like music is just as much of a visual thing as a sonic thing. So I'd
I
imagine
absolutely
that
agree with that, man.
you
Yeah.
guys have kind of like you mentioned like you're seeing colors. Do you guys have like synesthesia or something like that in a way?
Yeah, maybe it's just, I don't know. It's color.
I wouldn't call it that necessarily for me, but there is definitely a connection there. Like certain music evokes certain visuals, you know, even if it's just in your imagination. Like it's all part of like how you experience that, you know. Like you hear certain things and it makes you think of certain things, and obviously for everyone it's going to be different. But us getting to work with visuals in that way with music videos and stuff like that is like us kind of being able to lay on the table what we basically like what we are getting out of what we're doing, essentially,
Right.
if that makes any sense at all, you know, or at
So-
least this is our interpretation of what we're doing.
Exactly, and it's
But,
it's like
yeah.
when we did the Into the Storm video, it's very muted, it's very black and white, almost has like a 20s film feel to it. Maybe when we play that song live tonight, people will see sort of a very dark, like black and white atmosphere around it. You know what I mean? Like Billy said, we get to create what we think the song looks like, and we did 3 videos for this record. So, and they each they're totally different, each of them. So it was cool to be able to do that for sure.
And I mean, a live show in general, it's all 5 senses with what you hear, what you see. There's all different smells and
Absolutely,
you know, the
yeah.
whiskey that you taste when you're at the show, of course, and you know, there's also a feeling both internally and externally.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's always great to talk to you guys. Is there just anything else with Cloak that you would like to promote for the Burning Dawn record cycle?
I don't think so. I think just stay tuned. We're going to be doing a shit ton of touring on this record. There's some exciting stuff in the works for early 2020 as well.
Awesome. We'll look forward to seeing it.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, thank you,
Everybody,
dude.
we are here with Cloak, A Burning Dawn, out on Season of Mist. Pick that up right now while supplies last forever. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.